Hello. Good morning, Dr. Rajan Nagendra. How are you?
Good.
Rather, good evening. Good evening to you.
I know, but very good morning to you.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So I think we have our participants who have already joined, and what we'll do is quickly, maybe once I formally introduce you, right, we can have your presentation maybe for 35-40 minutes, and then we can have the question answers, Q&A session from the participants. Is it okay?
That's wonderful.
Wonderful. So good evening to all of you. Good morning to you, Rahul. And Rahul is joining us from California early in the morning. And thank you so much, Rahul, for joining us for a very interesting leadership level lecture on a very exciting topic called the art of managing failures, failing faster to succeed sooner, which I think in one sense, the ideas come from the co-founders of IDEO, the founders of Stanford School, and which I think Rahul has graduated from recently, having done a program from Stanford. Now, let me also have the pleasure of formally introducing today's guest of honor, and who will be talking to us on this exciting topic, Mr. Rahul Deshpande himself. Rahul has got a very exemplary career, very illustrious, I would say, and he's currently the co-founder and chief growth officer at Ethosh, which is based in San Jose, California, US, right? And he's passionate about customer success and sustainable hyper growth. And he's also been the CEO and co-founder for this company for almost about 11 years and 5 months. And before that, like I said, he has got a very illustrious career. He spent close to about 11 years and 2 months at SAP, last one being a regional sales director, Asia Pacific in Japan. And before that, he was a project manager at RSA companies. And he was also consultant at Altera Corporation for about 1 year. And he was also consultant at Ubix INC, again for 1 year. And most interestingly, he started up his journey with our own homegrown company called Godrej and Godrej Voice Manufacturing Company. 3 years he spent at Godrej and Voice Manufacturing Company Limited as a business analyst for 3 years, after which he became a senior business analyst at Godrej, where he spent about 3 years. Now, I think after that, he was bitten with his entrepreneurial ventures, this entrepreneurship itself, and that's what he's making a lot of difference in that space. Welcome once again, Rahul, for this evening session on 50 Fast Leadership Leaders lecture, by the way. And I'm sure all the participants will have great insights about this very exciting topic. Looks very simple, but I'm sure there are a lot of insight that we can get to learn from you, Rahul. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagendra. After a very long time, I got to hear what all I've done. So really appreciate that. Good evening to all of you, and good morning for me. It's still dark out there, and it's early. It's 5:30 a.m. right now. So, but I'm super excited to be here. I want to, do my best to kind of pass on my experiences, my learnings to you guys, and I want to talk about this little bit of a myth around failing faster to succeed sooner. Okay, so that's the topic of today's discussion. What I like about today's the whole idea, right? So one thing I would like to do is I would like to pass on a link of Mentimeter to all of you, and you can follow the presentation over there as well. While I'm going to share it on the screen, but you can follow the same presentation there on Mentimeter. So there is a link that I've shared with all of you. So please join that link. And there are going to be a couple of questions, quizzes for you, just to keep it interactive. I like to do it that way. And I would love to. I just shared it, Rashmi, on the chat above. Okay, so I hope all of you are able to get the link and you are able to join the presentation with me over there. Another thing is, I like to keep Mr. Sham has said not shared, not got, but I have just shared it. Okay. Okay, host and panelist. Okay, that's why. I think it went only to host and panelist. I'll reshare it. My bad. So that's what the failing faster to succeed sooner. Kindly share it. So I hope you got it. Fantastic. So great. So let's get started and see what it holds. I wish this would have been even more two-way conversation, but since I have the opportunity today to speak, so I'll speak for a few minutes, as Dr. Nagendra said, about 30 minutes or so, and then we'll would love to hear your questions or your thoughts on the same topic. Okay. So with that, I'm going to share the screen here. Okay, fantastic. I hope, so again, as I said, you can go to menti.com and type in the code 69725657, or you can click on the link that I have shared with you just to keep it interactive, and then join me on this journey over here. Okay. So again, the beautiful thing about this today's the whole thing is a discussion. That's what it says. I hope there is a discussion. Then it has an art in there. Then it has a management aspect of it. And the other thing is we're going to manage failures. We're going to manage them faster, and we're going to succeed. And we're going to succeed sooner. A lot of content, a lot of meat in this one statement itself. So let's see how it all goes. I want to so it does start with a question, and I think on your screen, if you're joining me on menti.com, on your screen you'll be asked to answer this question: who coined the term "fail faster to succeed sooner"? I think Dr. Nagendra gave a quick tip about it. Okay, so I think Chat GPT is there, guys. Please use it if you can, if you want. Fantastic. Steve Jobs. We all love Steve Jobs. I am super fan of Steve Jobs, and I think nobody likes Albert Einstein. But yeah, that's great. That's great. I think we want more votes coming in. It would take, I think we are going to surpass Chat GPT. I guarantee it. As humans. So, but fantastic, great. I would love to see more. I think just a couple of seconds here, guys, if you can join me here and on this thing. But yeah, but see, I personally think that whoever has coined it doesn't matter, but it definitely has been leveraged by many people. The scientists such as C.V. Raman and Albert Einstein, the businessmen like Steve Jobs, they have definitely used this concept of failing faster to succeed sooner. But the term was coined by David Kelly, the founder of IDEO, which is a design firm, the user experience design firm. And the thought that he had was around when they go from ideation to prototype. His thought was that while doing that process, that iterative process, he felt that we need to fail faster. We can't go on a very iterative, very long process from ideation to prototype. And that's where he coined this term, David Kelly. So fantastic job. Again, nobody's right and wrong. I'm not debating or contesting that Steve Jobs might not have said it. But that's at least that's what the Google says. That's what everybody says, that David Kelly actually coined the term over there. So great job. So friends, what I want to do is I want to talk about my experiences about failures, right? And so when I say my experiences about failures, it's I want to split this story into two parts, or I have two stories to tell. I have one story which is about a friend's friend, and then the second story is about our own company, our own experience, right? My own experience about managing failures. So the first one is about this friend's friend who had a very good job, and she was a kind of a designer in a large firm, a bank in New York. And eventually she said, okay, why don't I give it a shot to an entrepreneurship? But she, of course, wanted to do, and the reason that she wanted to start the company was to have a creative freedom and be able to work with more companies and not just being restricted in a financial institute, a bank, and just do the things that she has been asked to do. So that's what the purpose. She just wanted the freedom, the creative freedom, the expression of creativity, and that's where she started. She initially did a lot of freelancing, and that was back in 2004 or so. So for about a year, she did a lot of freelancing, but she started getting some work, some more work, and she started building the team. So from 2005 to 2008, she built close to around 20-25 people team, which is remarkable. I think anybody who has, if we have participants who have built the companies or who build teams even from scratch, they would know that building teams, hiring them, retaining them, motivating them is not an easy job. So not only she was able to build a good team, she had good clients, right? But guess what? 2008, end of 2008, the financial collapse in the market, that was very disastrous. And as not as a savvy businesswoman, she she lost a lot of clients. She had a lot of clients still majority of her clients are coming from financial services, so banks and other financial services, and many of them went away. And she had about 20-25 people working for her, and that was very traumatic. She never had to let go anyone. She never had to fire anyone. There were layoffs everywhere that were happening, and this is something she did not envision, right? So when we think about failures, right, one of the things as a leadership is to have an intuition, have an foresight to see to see if we are going to fail, how do we mitigate that, right? So that is one of the things that one, as a leader, one should have. However, it is not that easy. Like right now, what we are seeing, right? Everywhere there are layoffs happening in the big company, and they're all savvy CEOs, savvy founders, experienced companies with a lot of advisors around them in companies like Meta and Microsoft, and they're still laying off people. So mistakes do happen. Failures do occur. They do come, and when they come for a person who is not as experienced, as savvy, as supported, it can be a traumatic experience. So she struggled, right? She struggled to build from that collapse. And when the time came where she could not pay their salary, she had a couple of months of runway. That's it, right? No longer runway. So she had about a couple of months of runway, but she was not able to pay the salary. Then she was very sad. And she decided, okay, this is a time I don't want to let go anyone, right? So she actually decided to shut down the company. And guess what? She, through her friend, as she was trying to get more business, right, in other areas, in other parts of the world, in other industries, and she had some payment which was backlogged from some of the previous work that she had done. So she was in a really difficult situation. One day into early 2009, she got a call from a friend saying that, hey, I have some work for you, right? And then she got that work. Guess what? In a month, she also got some money that was held up by her previous customers, and they released some money. By 2009 May, she was again back on feet. Of course, not growing. She was just surviving, barely surviving. She was able to pay salaries, and she was able to continue the business. Now, that was the first experience where she was about to close the company. She was about to kind of let everybody go. Of course, she also felt bad that she was not able to pay them. So she took a decision to shut down the company. But that didn't happen. The company survived, right? So the failure that was going to happen in a very short period of time, they didn't happen, and somehow they were able to continue. Fast forward to about 2014, like 5 years, she had built a company about 60 people, and another situation happened with her. She had in her office, there was a fire, and that fire basically led her to means basically that destroyed a lot of physical assets for her, right? And she had a good studio going, she had a lot of things, couple of months of downtime, lot of expenses, and again, same situation, right? Some of the customers went away because some of the work that she was doing, that couldn't stop. She tried to get things done from home and other things, but again, they were not ready for those kinds of work, and she had to, again came to a point where she was about to uh, uh, shut down the company. Again, so repeat of the similar story, right? The customers came to her rescue, the friends came to her rescue, uh, and it's not like she wasn't attempting. She was definitely attempting to get more business, but it was taking time. And just before she was about to close the business, she got a rescue package from her friends and her network and customers and other things, and she was able to survive. And just before the pandemic started in 2019, she sold the company, and which was about 100 people company, and she sold it. She actually sold a part of the company to an investor, and she also extended stocks to most of the employees who stayed with her during the tough times, right? So people who stayed with her over the period of 10 years, she offered them stock options, some very, very lucrative stock options to all of them. And currently that company is further growing, right? So that is that. So sometimes we may have an idea about how we are going to run an experiment, how we are going to run it, how we are going to take our career, how we plan it, and not necessarily everything happens as per our plan, right? So we say that you plan for the you do things for the best, but you plan it for the worst, and you could do anything, but it is very difficult to actually face the situations which are unforeseen, which we have not experienced in our prior life. And those kinds of failures teach you many things. Right? Those are the things when I spoke with her, and I spoke with her in like post she shut down the company, and it was so inspiring for me to hear her experience, that how she was attached to that business as her own child, and how she was very kind, and she was very caring about the people that work for her, right? The customers who they all work for, and if she wanted to do something, she wanted to do it for the entire company. Of course, for whatever reasons, the destiny didn't allow her to do that, and the company survived, and she went on to be a very successful entrepreneur, right? So that's it, all those things, right? How do you get through certain things? You can't say, but you have to have a resolve. And what I learned is that resolve, that determination, that but at the same time, that kindness, that affinity, that the love towards people, can help you address failures. And that is one thing, one part of the story. So we'll go on to the next a quick question here. Okay. So again, friends, I would love to hear from you. Okay, if you have joined me on Mentimeter, again, please do menti.com 697255657 is a code. And which one of the following areas are okay to fail faster to succeed sooner? If you could help me give your, I love it. I love its career. Somebody is very, there are brave people here. There are brave people. Oh, someone is in education. That's not bad. Relationship. That's interesting. I like that. Career. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Some risk-taking people here, I would say. It's good. It's good. And it's fantastic. So, okay, UX prototype. That's correct. It's correct. And nothing is wrong, right? So some people, like, I don't think Steve Jobs and Bill Gates ever wanted their education to succeed, right? They wanted it to fail faster so that they could succeed somewhere else. So as Mark Zuckerberg, so as so many people here in the United States, means there is, relationship. You don't want to be in a long relationship and not have, not have to deal with it. And careers, absolutely, in agreement. You don't want a long career where you're just, every day looking at, getting up, going to your jobs and doing things that you don't want to do. An agreement, right? UX prototype is something, you, again, I think the failing faster and to succeed sooner, right? So you don't want to be in a situation where you are in that idea of finding the best thing out there, right? So that is one thing, right? So it doesn't need to be like that, right? So career, I want the best career. I want work-life balance. I want the best salary. I want the best manager. I want the best colleagues. I want the best work. I want everything in there. And it does happen. Okay, it did happen to me when I was at SAP. So it did happen to me, and that's why I stayed there for 11 years. It was fantastic. I moved within SAP. I moved from one job to or one role to other role. I went into sales. I was successful at sales. So it did work out for me very well. And actually, that it was like a golden handcuff for me because SAP treated me really, really well. And I owe a lot of my learnings, a lot of my success to the friends and coaches and the mentors and colleagues and critiques that I met at SAP. And that's those and some failures I've had at SAP as well, right? And those were those failures came very much on my face. So that kind of career is something everyone would want to have. So of course, when you get into those kinds of careers, then you, of course, are very successful. But then our inner thought of doing something different, right? Are experimenting something, going on to try new things, right? Can lead you on a path that can be that can show you different kinds of failures. When I compare my 11 years of building and running Ethosh versus my 11 years of SAP, SAP was a very, I would say, a lot of learnings that came from SAP. Less failures, I would say, because I did experiment. I changed jobs within SAP, but somehow the destiny or the things were just right. It's a big machine, and I give a lot of credit for my success to SAP and the company, the product that they build, the people that they hire, the coaching that they give, everything, right? So someone like me was able to succeed in that environment, and I think they made that environment like that, and I give a lot of credit. But when I started Ethosh, there was nothing, right? Me and my partner Jitendra, and there was a lot of new things, and that's what my next story is about. So, see, I think when I left my job, I wanted, of course, everyone wants success, right? No one wants a failure to begin with. I don't think we start something to fail. The idea of failing faster is to make sure that we achieve an objective, a goal that leads you towards success. Now, when, like the earlier story that I talked about, where this lady who started the company, I don't think success was her criteria. She wanted to be liberated. She wanted to have a creative freedom to do what she loves to do, which is doing things in a more liberal way for many customers, and rather than getting boxed into one type of creativity. So that's why she started as a freelancer. Then she went on to have a lot of uh, people who started working for her. So I don't think that was a reason that I wanted to be successful. So I think if one wants to be successful, there is a very defined path towards that. If we talk about Steve Jobs, if we talk about C.V. Raman or Albert Einstein, or a lot of people out there, who choose a path for having with a purpose, right? And that purpose could be anything. Okay, I want to make a lot of money, a materialistic purpose, I would say. But there is more. There are other sides of the purpose where you could think of, I want to solve that big problem. And that big problem, of course, as a side effect, you could be very successful and you will earn a lot of money. But that big problem is what we want to solve, right? So me and my partner Jitendra started the company. Of course, we left very good jobs, and the reason we started that company is because we wanted to basically solve a problem of educating unskilled workers. In the field of engineering and science, the knowledge is built, the products are built by very smart people, engineers, doctors, scientists, whoever, right? And they create those products, they create the knowledge around that product, how to use it. But many times that those products and those solutions are used or leveraged by people who are not as skilled as the people who built it. So how do you communicate to them? How do you bridge the gap of knowledge? How do you bridge the gap of skills? And we felt that visualization and digital technologies could come to rescue, right? And why don't we solve that problem of building skills faster, better, and cheaper using digital and visualization? And that was the purpose. So to educate people, to enable people, and to excite people. That was the mission on day one. And for 11 years that we have been running company, and we have had a lot of success and failures throughout 11 years. We have not changed the purpose that we started with. So I think that is very important. So success was not it didn't occur to us. Yes, it was back of our mind that we want to, and see the definition of success changes in different levels, right? So yes, we wanted to go have a good life, right? Good life for ourselves, our family, the people that we hire, and so on and so forth. So that kind of success, materialistic success, is always there, but that was not why we started. The second thing is, along the way, we never thought that we would learn so much. And the reason I would say that, it was not an intention that, yes, we started the company saying, okay, we'll give 2 years. Okay, so we'll give 2 years. We're not going to stop, no matter what failures we have. And we had some money to pour in and make sure that we are able to take it forward. So we'll have 2 years to go and figure out we are going to be successful. Now, we started with the idea of educating unskilled workers. 2 years fast forward, I think our idea was great. We had great customers like Crompton Greaves and Godrej and Kirloskar and all kinds of great customers, but we weren't making any money commercially. So we were, from our pocket, we were doing things for our customer. And we realized that, why is that? Because our customers aren't willing to pay the kind of money that the idea that we have and the problem that we are trying to solve. So along the journey, what we also learned from our customers, that they started liking our work, but they, instead of solving the skill problem, they said, help us sell our products more, right? So we said, okay. So we started working with marketing and sales departments, and we started getting business over there. So that experience, basically, so it's rather than failing. So we did fail in one area in a very short period of time. Again, we can't say 2 years is a short or not, but when I look at 11 years, I think there was a quick failure there, or fail faster. And then the market, our intuitions, our experience helped us to pivot to a new area using the same concept that we had. So that is where we pivoted from helping the training departments to helping the marketing departments, and then we continued on that path. Along the way, in 2016, or rather 2016, we were still a small company, about 20 people in 5 years, because first couple of years we had struggle, next few years we're still learning. See, first time entrepreneurs, right? So you make tons of mistakes, hiring mistakes, acquiring customer mistakes, money management mistakes, tons of mistakes, right? And you don't have an experience, and you end up making mistakes every day. I don't remember a day when I might have not made a mistake, but that was a huge learning. We were learning through our own experiences, which is costly. I don't think that is something that I would recommend to everybody, but it was a learning, and then came 2016, and we fortunately, as a company, and founders, we had an investor approached us, and we got some little bit of investment into the company. Not that we needed it, but we thought it's going to accelerate the company to a different level, right? Scale it to a different level. And guess what? In 2016, we actually, whatever money we received, we spent it on things which were absolutely not necessary. And guess what? 2016 December, we had no money in our bank to pay salaries. And in 5 years that we have started the company, we have never ever gotten into a situation where we had delayed the payment or not paid anyone, not employees, not vendors, right? Even if the customer had paid us late, we have made that as a policy that to our employees and to our vendors, we will pay on time. That was the first time in 2016 when we had that situation that where we were going to fail to deliver on our promise. And there was a failure for about a month. We were late in our payments, but we had taken a loan, which took a little longer for the bank to disburse it. But back in, again, from February onwards in 2017, we started paying the salaries. Of course, for me and my partner, we cut down our salaries basically to almost nothing, back to where it was all started. And but then from 2017, which again we had grown in 2016. We had grown from 25 people to about 50 people, double the growth, right? You have money, you spend. From again 50 people, we shrink to about 35 people, and from 35 people over today, we're more than 120 people, right? So all along the way, right? So if I look at that one small failure, what I learned through that is managing your business very closely, right? And financial discipline, how you deal with your customers, how you deal with your team, all that makes a very important sense, right? So those learnings we have implemented in our business. Now, in last 5 years, I wouldn't say that we have not failed. About 18 months ago, and again, the money can play a funny thing in your thinking. Okay, so again, we are back to growing, good cash flow. So we decided to invest in certain area, right? And and this is sometimes the external factors play a role, right? So we decided to invest in certain area in 2021, right? And come 2022, so we were building metaverse platform, and metaverse platform, there was a hype, there was a demand, customers were asking for it, and we thought this is it. This is going to give us the best results that we wanted. Come 2022, right, middle of it, Meta, which is Facebook, right, had problems. The whole metaverse bubble just burst, right? And that's where, again, we had made huge investment. We kind of, what happened during that process is that we kind of shifted our focus from the business that was helping us growing every day. We shifted our focus to something which we thought is going to grow much faster. In the process, right? And again, these are some of the mistakes, inexperience, or whatever you call it. And not that experienced companies don't do these mistakes. What we learned is that you can't do that, right? You cannot. You have to have a firm footing on or grounded on the business that runs really well. And if you are going to go, you have to have your one foot in the future. Don't get me wrong. You have to experiment. You have to, and we we're glad that that experiment failed faster, right? It failed in about 9 to 12 months, and but there was an external force that kind of popped the bubble and it failed. We had some challenges, not to that extent, but again, managing those challenges and then coming out of it, right? So that's a business every day. Along 11 years, the last thing of it, we have been having fun, right? So when you think about failure is not a failure or success, I think in Bhagavad Gita, as it says, right, as Sri Krishna has said, that it's not the success, it's not the failure that you are looking after. What you keep doing what you want to do, keep enjoying it. That's your karma, and you want to continue on your karma. You want to continue on your purpose, your mission. And I think that's why I would say, that's why I said success was not an option. And even today, I don't think success is an option. It's a purpose is an option. The business, the growth, revenue, and the profitability are the requirements, right? And as long as we manage everything properly, the end result is a successful. Now that doesn't mean I don't want failures. I want failures along the way. I force failures. So some failures, like what happened with us, or like what happened with the other lady, is like some of the failures were unknown. You get into the situation where there are unknown. Some of the failures that are knowingly, you go on a path knowing that you may fail, right? And that's where it's failing faster to succeed sooner. But some of the failures are intentional. You have to induce an intentional failure for you to learn something, and that is very difficult. But sometimes I don't know how that how to do that in a way, right? It's situation to situation, right? But you have to look at those situation to situations and see whether you could induce a failure for you to learn the things very quickly and then move on to do the right things in future, right? So that is what it is. Just the last slide before we get to the some discussions. As I said, accept that failure is very much an option. I think every one of you, I think you guys are brave bunch of people. When you talk about education and career and relationship as very much a viable option, I think it's really encouraging to see such bright leaders here. Failures have taught me a lot, and I think it's something that you could, just look at failures as your teacher. Don't get trapped into too much analysis. Analysis is great. You got to do a little bit of a postmortem, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help. Look at it. Yes, you made a mistake. That was it. Maybe document it. See what you could do better. And hey, that's what makes us human, right? So failures make us human. So I think be humble about it. I think they teach us a lot, and I think success, we accept it with the great pride. I think failures must be accepted with a great pride, and you need to be strong and have a resolve to address it and move forward. So I think that's it from my side, friends. Again, I love discussion. So, but I'm a sales guy, so I love to talk as well at the same time. But this is it. I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you, Rahul. I think wonderful stories. I think we are getting some questions. Before that, let me ask before we get some of the questions into the Q&A box. I think one of the things that we want to know from you, Rahul, is that now in science, I think it's nice to, almost like a cliche to say that we have the tolerance for mistakes and failures and things like that. But it also happens that there are two ways of looking at it. One is that there are CEOs who encourage very tacitly, people to make mistakes so that they can learn from it, and that's how the innovation, the iteration process starts, right? That's one way of looking at it. I know for the fact that I know one of the very senior gentlemen in Mahindra and Mahindra company. He told me one very interesting story. every time Anand Mahindra takes out his senior leadership team for, this, what you call this, off-site meetings and, strategy meetings and the conclaves kind of thing. Every quarter after quarter, it seems Anand Mahindra, all the top guys, there maybe, few of them, the guys who are running different businesses, every quarter he asks them only one question. The first question that he asks is that, what was the new thing that you started and failed, not the one that you succeeded? He always asks this question, it seems. And I felt so happy, who's from Harvard, right, itself, that I don't know how many other people do that. Now, you have seen somebody like Ratan Tata, and when he announced to the rest of the world something called a Tata Nano, right? And, somehow it got caught in that wire of 1 lakh car, 1 lakh car. I don't know where. In fact, he himself said that, nowhere that 1 lakh has come in, but somehow I think people started force feeding that into him. And then when that failed, bombed, I think, and didn't do well, of course, he took it very graciously and moved on. And you know what Tata is doing right now in terms of, if you look at Tata Motors, the kind of designs, the platform that they've come up, it's phenomenal. I think just too good, right? So that's one side. But in the corporate side, Rahul, I know for the fact that I think, right, everybody would have experienced at some point, right? Not me, fortunately, but then I've read so much about this one where you will have some bosses who set you up for failure. You know that it's not going to be, you can't do it, but then somehow maybe, you're forced to do it. So therefore, in other words, your boss is setting you up for a failure. So therefore, you go through that pain. And then, of course, it all depends on how you react to it, or I'm sorry, more than reaction, I think respond to it. So you have two set of people. So one CEOs, they actually encourage very vibrantly and very vigorously about make mistakes, and then we learn from there. That's one way of looking at it. Otherwise, you are having some bosses who actually set you up for failure. So how do you deal with these two set of people, Rahul?
Yeah, that's a great question and great thought. I look up to Anand Mahindra and Ratan Tata, one of the best leaders that India has got in the recent times. So I think first is, in terms of encouraging people, right? So motivation about make mistakes and do something different, right? So that one philosophy I also follow a lot. And I continue to encourage people on that journey, right? So when I see that customers in the customer situation, when customer is not happy with let's say one of the deliverables, but the person who has worked on it has done something different and tried to be different, I still think that that's a success that the person has achieved, and he or she has failed to deliver what customers asked for, but I think they have attempted to go beyond the imagination that the customer may have. So I personally also encourage such kind of, it's not in an everyday routine, but something, because I work also in the creative world. So I encourage such kind of a little bit of a diversions that are necessary to think outside the box, right? So that is one way. Second is induced, and I talked about induced failures, right? So the induced failures, like I work very closely with my team, like where and I put them into a situation or a leadership positions or roles where I sometimes know that they're not going to succeed, and I still do it. I give them a deliverable, and my team knows this very well, that they will work on it for a month or a month and a half, and they come back to me and I say, okay, and I scrap the entire project. And then I go back and I ask them, what did you learn? Or did you learn to go through that entire process? What was it? And of course, they are very disappointed or sometimes demotivated that I've scrapped it. But I don't tell them that it is an induced action. It is because if I want to build a leadership team, right? If I don't move somebody from a delivery organization into a sales, I'm not building a business person. They're looking at how am I going to deliver. But if I see a potential in someone who can be a business leader, then I got to move them into a different roles, give them different kind of tasks. Yeah, and some of the tasks which I generally do or others do at the leadership, and then see how they react. Some people succeed, I'm not saying, but even if they fail, I'm okay with it, and I encourage them because I want them to move on from and take those learnings. So I think those induced failures are, some leaders have that. I encourage it, but of course, carefully, right? You got to understand the person who is not going to take that emotionally right? You have to understand their emotional quotient, their or make sure that it is not going to be demotivating for them that they would be discouraging to take on such challenges in future. So you have to understand some of those nuances before putting someone through that process.
Very good. This is the question from Mr. Vinit Singh, Rahul. His question is, why do we need to make mistake at all the stages of business? We have enough knowledge and experience in our surroundings. Why not to utilize instead of making mistakes? We can learn from others for many cases. Thank you, Vinith. This is basically, well, I mean, why do we have to reinvent the wheel, especially when it comes to the failures? You can start learning from the mistakes, others' mistake, because that's the best learning that can happen. Instead of you going through the failure, maybe why not learn from others' failures and then keep making a progress. Thank you, Vinith.
Yeah, fantastic question, Vinith. I think that's what we all try to do. Okay, that's what we are like. Okay, we want to take the blueprint of success and apply it everywhere that we can. But the situations, the scenarios, the people are different, and that there are defined areas, and then there are that we call it parameters, right, of success, and then there are unknowns that are impacting those things. So those unknowns could be timing, right? So pandemic, we had never thought of anything. Post-pandemic, everybody thought digital is going to be the next big thing, and everybody started investing in it. Even we were at one point 150 people team, right? And so you go on a path thinking and having an idea about how things are going to work, but you just don't know how the market or the external forces are going to impacting those things. So it's not about making mistakes. It's about accepting that the mistakes are going to happen. It's accepting that through those mistakes, you're going to learn. And then you're going to continue to modify or edit the blueprint of success that help your next generation or next leader to look at, what was the mistake that Rahul did, and how do I not make those mistakes? Now that is also not guaranteed, but that's how I would look at it.
I'll put it maybe a counter argument, Rahul, for the sake,
sure.
Right? Now, the counter argument, of course, because all of us experience, for example, let's say, like you rightly said, the last one slide, you said success is not an option. But now let me turn it around and say that there are instances where failure is not an option. Because, for example, let's say every time we visit a hospital, every time we fly an airline, we don't expect any failure, right? So,
absolutely.
Right? Now the same thing is with SWAT teams or the terrorist negotiation teams or your anti-terrorist squads, because all the time after month, event after event, or fire brigade, those kind of people who are always, or the maybe army who's front-ending the front lines, securing the borders of various different countries. We don't want anything other than success from these people. Maybe the pilots, maybe the top-class surgeons, because every time so in some cases where we know for sure that failure is not an option, and that's what you're trained to deliver month after month, year after year, or event after event, setting after setting, only the success. How do you look at that kind of phenomena, Rahul?
So I'll tell you two examples, and one is of my father who passed away last year at the age of 81, and till last date he served common people, right? He went into villages and he was a doctor, so he treated them, and he had always said that, Rahul, why do I do it? Because I love it. This is my profession. I'm not looking at it making sure that I have to be successful in treating people. I have to take care of them. I have to treat them. That's my job. If I attach myself to a success, I get into an ego.
Right.
It gives me an ego. So for him, it's not an option. Failure was not an option, and so as success also not an option. It was a karma. That was the intention. That was the purpose. So I think that was one example. The second example, I always fly. I fly a lot, right? And I do sometimes fear of falling from the sky. And one of the instances where, one time we were landing into Portland and it was very foggy, and the pilot said, I'm going to land the plane with autopilot on. So if something happens, I'm not to blame. So I think in those situations, that even if they are trained to do trained to be successful, there are so many other factors that are playing, which are out of their control. So I think it's not the success and a failure that we should be after. It is the karma, it is our mission, it is our purpose that will lead you to the experiences which are successful or failures. So I think that's how I look at it.
Very good. Now, this is a question from Mr. Jayvelu, and his question is, what measures do we have to follow to understand that we are actually failing? Now, some sort of smoke signals, before you actually hit the panic button and say that you have failed. But can you think of or can you look at some smoking signals or some signals that eventually alert you or maybe preempt the possible failure, Rahul?
Yeah. So in a corporate, it is possible, right? Because any objective that you take on, any mission or any project or whatever, you set KPIs. And those KPIs are, one should not keep the KPIs which are what you will achieve at the end of the project, but one should keep KPIs which are progressive, which are like, okay, and based on milestones. So the progressive KPIs based on milestone help you and put a governance around it, right? So once you have the governance, like weekly meetings, monthly meetings, whatever the governance one should have the third person look at your problems or your KPIs. Not if I'm looking at my own KPIs and I'm happy about it, but really that is not how it should be. Somebody else should be looking at my KPIs and telling me, hey, I see something is not right, right? So setting up those KPIs, setting up milestones, so progressive KPIs and milestones, having the governance on it, and having the third person observer provide a vigilance and a critique on how the progress is being made can give us signals that we might be end up failing. Now, this is after doing all of this, you may still, everything may go right till the end and you may still fail, right? So it may happen. But yeah, these are the things. These are just some of the ideas. There could be more over there as well.
Very good. I think this is a question from Ms. Priyanka Kher. Her question is, generally in schools and colleges, kids are not prepared to handle failures. How can parents make sure that kids, when fail, don't forget to learn the lesson? In general, how can your mind be trained to face failure, just like success? Thank you, Priyanka.
Yes. Thanks, Priyanka. So, see, I think to kids, right, and my daughters, they have good success. They have sometimes failed in certain aspects. I think if as parents or as seniors, as a brother or sister, whoever, right, or a guide, if we can demonstrate failures through actions, I think that is a good way to, and then we present or we demonstrate that we are not, we're not falling down, we're standing up again and we are walking forward. I think that's a good way to demonstrate. So I think those examples, if they see that, if my daughters see me failing and they see me failing, right? Because I tell them stories, how I've made mistake and I failed and I did this and this is what happened. And now growing up in a business family, they get to hear a lot of challenges as well. So, so I think that is one thing. Don't shield your failures, right? Be human, be humble, express them in front of kids. Don't say, I used to do a lot of, like, I was very successful. I think, one thing I was not. And right. So if we say I was very successful, I think they take that as a little bit of a pressure. So I think showing through example, demonstrating through examples might help. Again, I'm not a child psychologist to give a proper guidance on this thing. I'm just telling you from the experience of, helping my daughters manage failures or look at failures in a different way.
Thank you, Rahul. I think I must add one comment with your permission. I'm hearing one of very a great sports psychologist saying that of all the things in life, Rahul, I think there's only one thing that teaches us, everyone in the world, about failure, and that's about sports. That's the only thing that teaches somebody about the failure. So therefore, he was suggesting that sports has got to be made a compulsory part of the curriculum in the younger days. Maybe when somebody's growing up, maybe they're kindergarten, when they're just growing up as a child. So therefore, they have to be, because that's where you get to see the failure. I mean, in fact, you were saying that that's the only thing that can teach somebody or anybody about the failure. But I think that's just a comment. Now, this is a question from Minali Gajjar, Rahul. Her question is, how to manage team when you have to complete a given task as manager in stipulated time? Some of the team members are not in sync with the agenda. Thank you, Minali.
Okay. I see. So I think it's a failure of a leadership, right? And how do you manage the leadership failure over here? That's how I look at it. See, again, I think managing it in different ways. One need to get into the details of it. It's having the realistic goals first of all, right? And stretch goals, both realistic and stretch goals. Communicating them upfront and allowing people to commit to those agreed goals and stretch goals, right? That commitment, and again, as I said, it has to be progressive KPIs and milestones. So one has to put a governance around a program and a project management where they are, the stakeholder management, the communication, the risk mitigation, all those factors play a role in foreseeing what may happen. So this is where the management principles and the leadership principles come in picture, where we would have to put a framework in place, but at the same time, our own skills of managing and leading a team play a very important role, right? So this is how I would do it. It's hard to give a typical answer on such situations without getting into the details. But again, I would go back to just the framework, governance, progressive KPIs, and milestones.
Thank you. This is a question from Meenal Kavimandan, and his question is failure and demotivation, a close combination. How to keep ourselves motivated after consistent failures, and if you come to the point of quitting, what you're aspiring to achieve very strongly? Thank you, Meenal.
Yes. So absolutely in agreement with Meenal that failures can be demotivating. They are, right. They're no. I am not saying failures need to be motivating. They are learning experiences, but that doesn't mean that emotionally they are not demotivating. They are demotivating. So if you have failures at attempting to do the same thing, either you change the course of and trying to do that thing differently. But if it is failing, then quitting is an option, right? Is not continuing that is an option, and one should consider it and have it as one of the KPIs that if I don't achieve this milestone after attempting it 2-3 times is an option. Now, as you earlier said, sometimes like in medical profession or in very critical professions like defense and airlines, quitting is not necessarily an option in a crisis situation, right? When you know that every attempt that you make is making you taking you to failure, but still the instincts as humans of survival, the having success and the way we look at those things can drive us to achieve something. Again, we need to go back to our karma and see whether this is our purpose, right? If Albert Einstein or C.V. Raman, scientists, they get on for 20 years, they try something, 20 years, and they may end up succeeding or failing. Great scientists like Tesla, very successful, but very much a failure in his own personal life. And now after 100 years, we're celebrating every one of his successes. It does happen in different aspects, but I think sometimes quitting can be an option in a professional world and or even personal world. And I would say that learn from it and move forward.
Great, Rahul. I think we just 1 minute past 8 o'clock. With your permission, can I take 2 more questions?
Yeah, no problem.
Great. This is a question a little longish from Deepak Srivastav. And his question is, I think, about a company. What he's going through, or maybe somebody else in his vicinity must be going through. Rural health tech for profit company. The product has acceptance from customers, and customers are increasing. 50% of new sales and 50% repeat sales. Revenues are almost doubling every quarter. Therefore, burn rate is reducing. In 15 months of commercial operation, 4% market share is captured. Institutional investors appreciate the business and social impact, but not investing. A runway for only 2 months left. Now the question is, how will you deal with this kind of situation?
Yeah, it's like seeing myself a few years ago. A business, what I learned is cash is king. Manage your cash very well, really very well. Manage your receivables, manage your payables, manage your cash on day to day. If you're a founder, then sacrifices are very important as a part of it, right? So are the leadership team that you have, are they in? So when we had challenges, my leadership team came to my rescue. My entire team came to my rescue in managing the cash, and I really appreciate it. I wouldn't be here without my team, without my leadership, and without anybody who supported us. So I think that is very important, that you talk to your team, manage your cash. Cash it's a KPI, as the number one KPI in building the business. Not revenue, not profits, cash. If you only spend what you have, a part of it, that you only spend part of it, what you have in your bank, right? Not on your receivables, not on anywhere else. Now, if you're building a big business and you need institutional investor, have also some focus on convincing them that this is how they are going to get the exit. This is how they are going to make the money. If it is social, then look at it from the impact perspective and find right investors. So maybe either you are chasing the wrong investors, or maybe they're not convinced. But there is a lot to it. But cash is king or queen. And I would say queen over king these days, because if you don't manage that queen very well, you end up in a tough situation yourself. You're on mute, Dr. Nagendra.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Rahul. This is the last question for today evening, and this is from Rashmi Sharma. Her question is, how to manage yourself when your supervisor expects a lot from you, though they are really motivating and appreciate you for meeting almost all KPIs, but then also at the moment you feel failed and demotivated. Obviously, learnings are always there. Thank you, Rashmi.
Yeah, thank you, Rashmi. See, I think it is hard. It is a difficult question because it goes into a lot of aspects of our own personal life, and it would be difficult for me to comment on it, Rashmi, what you could do, what I would do in this situation, or what I have done, right? Sometimes overachieving or attempting to overachieve, and then sometimes somebody else may think as a success and you may not think as a success, can be a challenging and dynamic situation. I myself face it, and many times, I have faced it in the past. So I think one thing is isolating and detaching yourself or oneself. And I'm good at it, but I try to isolate and detach myself from both success and a failure and achievements. That helps me stay sane in this very fast-paced life that I live. So that is one thought that it's very difficult. In Bhagavad Gita, I read a lot, and in Bhagavad Gita, detachment is it's like a nirvana. So it's very difficult. But in a smaller, minute level, if there are moments where you can detach or isolate yourself from the idea of a success and a failure, or KPIs and objectives and achievements, I think it will help you manage yourself a little better. That is my experience. I'm, hard to say what would be others' experiences.
Thank you so much, Rahul. And we are 8:06, and really appreciate your time early in the morning at California. And really, wonderful topic actually. And there's so much to talk about. And you're right, I think rightly said, some of it may not have answers, and it has to be learned from own experience. And like you rightly said, with the two questions, there's no right or wrong answer in some of these cases. But I think what really comes out from most of the most part of your interaction is, I think, as long as your purpose or your intention, I think, is there, and so therefore you're not getting wedded either to success or to failure either, I think the intention, like, what your wonderful, sagely advice, I would say, from your dad. I think that's what it is like. Thanks so much, Rahul, for a very interesting session. And most importantly, best wishes to you and your entire team, and keep creating more, not necessarily successful stories, but like you said, the success is not an option, but your purpose, learning, and right. I think that's the key. But from all of us, thank you so much, and especially for joining us at very early in the morning from California. Thank you so much, Rahul.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagendra, and your team and all the participants. I'm really happy that I'm able to share my thoughts over here. I hope they were helpful in some way, and again, experience would teach a lot. But yeah, thanks for giving me an opportunity, Dr. Nagendra.
Thanks so much, Rahul. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thanks.